She was a little different than I was. She didn't speak like me, she didn't walk like me, she didn't talk like me. And for me, even when I was with my friends, I felt alone. My father had to constantly move to provide for the lifestyle that we needed. I became more confident both in myself and in my abilities. I had grown to be a very logically inclined child. I wanted to do everything that made sense, had a pattern. I needed to make a change for her because she is the one who has given me all of this. As they say, change is the only constant, and I grew up learning all about it. It was very hard for me, but I think it taught me some lifelong valuable lessons. My name is Geitanksha Tandon, and today I'll be talking about how these past 18 years have helped me develop and change for the better. My first vivid experience, my first vivid memory actually, was in Yemen, Sana'a, where I lived for the first 6 years of my life. It was a beautiful place, luscious gardens, a very encouraging family, a very beautiful community. I used to walk on cobblestones, I used to have family picnics, but all of that changed. One day I was told that we had to move, and I didn't know why. A few years later, I learned that it was because of my sister. My sister, 2 years younger than me, Anushka Tandon, she was a little different than I was. She didn't speak like me, she didn't walk like me, she didn't talk like me. And I learned later that she had trisomy 21, a case in which a child has an extra chromosome, and their lifeline milestones are delayed by a bit. So what did this mean? This meant that she took a little more time to develop the skills that I would develop very fast. And obviously it also meant that she needed more attention, which actually had led to our change from Yemen to Bombay, where she had to do a few therapies. But for me, I wasn't able to deal with this change. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why I was moving. I didn't know how this would impact me, what lay ahead, and what things that I would have to face, what challenges I would have to overcome. So naturally, I became quite an introvert. In school, I didn't perform that well simply because there was nobody there to tell me, okay, what happened? How are you feeling? What's going on with you? How is your change? Did you like it? Do you want some special attention? Do you need something? And at home, the attention was obviously necessarily given to my sister because she needed it. Now I do understand, but then I was only 6 to 7 years old. You couldn't have expected me to be completely okay with it. Apparently, once I even asked my mother, Mom, why does everyone come and pull my sister's cheeks and not mine? Why does anyone find her so cute? What about me? And I think that sums up what I was feeling very well because it explains the kind of insecurities that I was going to develop, the kind of ways that I constantly felt like I wasn't enough because in school I was a B+ student, I was an average student, and I could see everyone else rush by me, do so much better, have so many friends, and for me, even when I was with my friends, I felt alone. I didn't know what to do because I thought that this was the way everyone felt and I didn't know who I should talk to. And naturally, the 7 years in Bombay were really difficult. But I think over those 7 years, I learned something even more valuable about my family, who I was, and how my sister had actually been so involved in my development. I grew closer to her. I grew closer and I understood what was happening with her, what I had to do to make her feel involved. So I grew a bond with her and we became much closer, and I started to feel the empathy that lacks in so many people across the world. And I think I was very lucky in that sense because it gave me an opportunity to look into myself. It gave me an opportunity to understand how I needed to develop as a person. But naturally, with an environment where I was constantly competing, I didn't feel like I had a chance to be myself. It didn't develop. Not until we moved to Dubai. But before that, the main reason that I felt so alone was simply, it was nobody's fault. My father had to constantly move to provide for the lifestyle that we needed. Coming from a service class, it was already very difficult for us to live in southern Mumbai, a place where a lot of people had come from higher, richer socio-economical backgrounds, and they didn't really understand what kind of lifestyle I came from, and so they refused to be a part of my life. They refused to cooperate with me, to live with me, to coexist with me. And I was shunned, and naturally I felt alone. But the difference is that no one was to blame, because these children the same children who learned growing up that I was not like them, were never given a reason why. They were just growing up in a community and they were learning what people around them did, what adults around them did. And adults did have that prejudiced notion. The difference is I learned why. I learned what happened, and I didn't know how to change it. Because on one hand, while my father was away, my mother had to focus all of her attention on my sister. And so I couldn't turn to her. I couldn't turn to my father, who kept moving around. He moved from Maldives to Goa to Hyderabad. It was crazy. I felt alone. But soon, when we came to Dubai, I understood a little more. I was, I think, around 14 years old when we moved to Dubai. And I didn't know what to expect. I cried a lot on my last day, even though I didn't like the people that I was with. I'm not going to lie. It was a very difficult time for me. And I felt alone, but I cried so much simply because the second I told my friends, I'm not going to be coming back ever again, I'm not going to be doing 7th grade with you, they didn't seem to be affected. They didn't seem to be hurt. They didn't seem like, oh, our friend is leaving. They didn't seem affected at all, and it really did hurt. But the difference is this hurt made me understand. I was older. I decided that I was going to be a better person than this. I didn't want to live knowing that on my last day of being with people I actually thought would care about me would end up so horrific. I never wanted a day like that again. And I said, okay, I'm going to change things. So when we moved to Dubai, instead of taking it as a very confused, difficult time like I did from Yemen to Bombay, I decided that this was going to be the moment I changed. Because my sister taught me that even though she was different from me, even though like the same way that I was different from my other friends, she never seemed to mind. She was growing, she was flourishing, and she was living the best life that she could. She ended up becoming a star at her school, the school which encouraged her to move abroad so that she could further develop her academics and her skills, her interpersonal, intrapersonal skills. That's actually why we were moving. But the difference is, I took inspiration from her. So I said, okay, you know what? We're going to move and I'm going to be okay with it. I'm going to do my best. I moved, luckily, to a beautiful school that seemed to take me in stride without a second thought. They embraced me to become a more holistic individual. And naturally, after my teachers showed intense support for me, asking me, are you okay? Do you know anything? Do you want any help? I became more confident both in myself and in my abilities. And soon I started to get A pluses. I know grades don't really represent the whole part of you, but when they have been repressed only because your environment has never let you grow, it makes a whole difference. And it made a difference in my personality. From 7th to 9th to 10th, it was difficult. I was still growing, I was still learning, and hence I never really got an opportunity to connect with my family at a very deep point, because the reason is I had to change within myself. And I'm telling you, it is okay to take some time to develop yourself, to make yourself whole. And then soon after, in 10th grade, I remember doing really well in boards, and I was applauded and I was given a very, congratulative environment in which I was given the opportunity to flourish. Yet again, I realized that I had done what I needed to do. I had developed this sense of belonging, this sense of identity, and this sense of purpose in my life. And that's why it became so clear to me what to do. In 11th, I was given a lot more opportunities because I was now a part of high school, senior school, a part which made the changes in school, a part which involved themselves in every aspect of learning in the community to make a change. And I said the first community naturally was the one with people of determination, like they call them in Dubai. People of determination was a term coined by one of the sheikhs here, the most respected sheikhs in Dubai. And he said that they didn't want to call these children people with special needs because they didn't have special needs. They were determined to make that change, and you cannot discriminate against them based on who they are because they did not choose to be like this. So that made me think of them in a whole new way. I said, I am privileged enough to be completely capable. I am privileged enough to have my hands, my feet, my brain, and my thoughts and my empathy that has developed over the past 15 years. And I then decided that, I'm going to do it. So I started going volunteering a lot. I volunteered for my sister's community in baseball classes where we developed their motor skills and their interpersonal skills. I volunteered to help take care of these kind of people, not just children, but adults, the people who do make our society today. I decided to help them in census take center. I took on a lot more challenges. I took to mentoring people of determination after my boards ended, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. At the same time, I had grown to be a very logically inclined child. I wanted to do everything that made sense, had a pattern, and so I decided on taking computer engineering. And the reason that I found myself so inclined to it, able to do the best that I can, is only because of my sister. Because I knew that since I was gifted with the ability to take this up, to pursue this career, I needed to make a change for her, because she is the one who has given me all of this. And so I decided to become a computer engineer and create designs and programs that will help her community. In a way, it might have, you can see change as something that stopped you. I did in Bombay all those years ago. I made a mistake and I said, I am moving from a perfect lifestyle and I don't have anyone to talk to. I became very self-pitying and insecure. But now, the second time that this happened, I was determined. So the main thing that I actually learned from this was that when mistakes happen, when they do, because they definitely will, no human can ever go by without making a single mistake. You need to learn from it. The same way I did. The second thing that I learned was you need to embrace anyone who comes across your path. It took a while for me because I was never that close to my sister in the beginning. But when I did, I understood that some people do not choose who they become, because sometimes it's natural. And the best thing you can do is make them feel included. Trust me. Just a small, how can I help you? Would you like to be friends can make all the difference in a little child's world. Thank you.
Tell us what you think about this video and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.